Hello, and welcome to the Power Within podcast. I'm your host, Laurie. Today, I'm going to do a kind of what I learned this summer edition of my podcast. And I believe I've done this the last couple summers. I know I did last summer at least, and I enjoyed that. And so I wanted to share with you guys what my takeaways were from this summer. Last summer I had an adventure summer. It was so awesome. Like I was living the RV life and camping, and I was traveling, and I was, having fun and just living this like kind of life of like freedom. And I loved it so much, and I learned so much. I It was probably one of the best summers of my life because I learned the most about myself last summer, in the different activities that I did, the people I came in contact with, the the choices that I made. It was a really beautiful summer, and I think this summer I went into it with a little bit of a fairy tale that I was going to have a continuation and of last summer, a little bit looking a little bit different, but that it was going to be this like amazing summer. And I actually want to say I think it was an amazing summer. It was a it was probably one of the most challenging summers of my adult life, but I am extremely grateful for that as well. Um, this summer was filled with obstacles, learning. It was filled with loss. It was filled with letting go. And this is something that I want to share about. And so I'll start off with like the beginning of my summer. And I had planned a trip. I was going to Calgary for the Bitcoin rodeo. Super excited. And as everyone knows, I shared like usually when I go on vacation, I prepay for everything. So I had prepaid for everything and I was excited about it. And the morning I had a really, I think it was a, and I had an afternoon flight, but I woke up super early because I wanted to get up and get all my stuff done, get my pets all in order. And um, I get a message that my flight's canceled. So I go on trying to call, and of course, WestJet doesn't take any calls when they go on strike, and everything's a giant mess. So I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I'm told that my flight is non-refundable and it's not going to happen. So now I'm like, is this some kind of joke? Because I'm looking for flights. And of course, WestJet's on strike and they're like, well, you can try to book another one tomorrow, but um, if this is still going on tomorrow, it would, cancel those too. And then I'm looking online and I can see that it's probably going to be going on for the remainder of the week. So I'm like, I can't book a WestJet flight because I'm never going to make it there. So I go online and I start looking. And of course, all the other airlines are going to capitalize on that because they know now everyone's stranded and needs a flight. And so I'm looking and I'm like, I'm getting more and more like upset because I can see like the flights are now like $2,500 to start, up to like $10,000 for a flight. And I'm like, I can't go. Like, and so by the end of the day, I was already supposed to have been in Calgary at this point and be excited and on getting ready for my next big day of Bitcoin stuff. And instead I was sitting at home and I was crying, I'm gonna be honest with you. And so I finally had resigned myself to, okay, this isn't going to happen. There's probably a reason why I shouldn't go. I said, if I'm meant to go, I'm going to go online and look one more time to see if there's any flights that are um, within my budget that I can budget a little bit later on. And so I found one. I found a United Airlines flight. It was for the next day and it was very reasonable. So I was like, okay, this is something that I can take for tomorrow, which it was going to bring me into Calgary. I think I was going to get like an hour and a half at the Sat Market. And I was super excited because I wanted to go to all the little things and use my Lightning wallet. And um, I was going to be like a kid in a candy store for the first time. I was so thrilled. So I I get to Calgary the next day and I can see I think it was I think there was like 2 hours left when my flight landed at the Sat Market. So I go to get my car and I get there and they're like, it's up to a 2 hour wait for cars right now. And I'm like, I really need a car. I'm supposed to be at an event and I really need the car. The girl's like, I'm sorry. And so after waiting for, I think it was like 45 minutes or so, she called me over and she said, we're going to go ahead and bump your car up first so you can go to your event. And so I got in my car and it was I think it was ended up being like 30 or 40 minutes away, something like that. And I drive a little bit faster than what the speed limit is. So I made it there. I think I had like 25 minutes left of the market. So um, I went in and I didn't know a single soul. So I was just like trying to figure out where I was supposed to begin. And then I met Nathan in person from the Bitcoin Mentor. And so it was really nice to meet him because I talked to him on his their Twitters that they do. And we were discussing all of the different stuff and he was like, have you tried the Bitcoin ATM? And so he was showing me that and then asked me if I'd met Ben and I said no. And um, he let me meet Ben. Ben came over for a few minutes and it was lovely to get to talk to him because I've learned so much from Ben's videos, Ben Perrin. And so then I walked around for a few minutes with whatever the vendors that were left. And I got to meet Toby. Toby Daniels, who I had on the podcast. She does children's books. And I was super excited to see her because my nieces, I wanted to get them some books. So she was my first stop. I went and found her right away. And I was so excited to use my Lightning wallet. And, I had gotten it all set for the event before I left. And I actually even, because I couldn't use my Lightning wallets with iPhone, so I had even switched my phone to an Android so I could do this. There was no reception for me at the casino. I could not get nothing to work for me. So I was bummed because I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm not using my Lightning wallet, but I was able to go over and pay her with the Bitcoin ATM, which was my first time using one. And those are when you think of an ATM in the United States, you think of this big, giant, bulky thing, or it's in a wall. And it's just this little tiny thing on a desk. And I'm like, oh, this is so cute. So I was able to pay her that way. And it was really, really neat. And then I ended up meeting at the Bitcoin. I ended up going to a Bitcoin meetup and I met some other wonderful people. And one of the other vendors, Dave and his fiance, like they had brought in tallow cream and it's so beautiful. I had gotten my mom some. Actually, Dave was actually the first one that I got to use my Lightning wallet with. And so I was super excited about this. And people were excited for me because I was so excited. And I was like the newbie little like person. So, a lot of people were taking me underneath their wings and answering my, like questions. And so when I did my first Lightning transaction, um, I got a picture with Dave with my, my phone showing that I did my first Lightning transaction. I was so excited and I loved it. I loved being immersed with all these different vendors and people that I could talk to. And I learned so much. I I never felt, one thing I will say about that Bitcoin community is that I never felt stupid. Now, I know a lot of the basics of Bitcoin. I've studied it for the last couple of years. So I've learned a lot about Bitcoin, but there's still some things that I don't understand or I haven't looked into different like aspects of it. Like I have my cold card wallet and my Mark IV, and I've learned how to use that. I've learned, about self custody and all of those things, but there's still different nuances with Bitcoin that I'm learning about. And um I've had some great people share a lot of different information for it, so it was great. But at the Bitcoin events in Calgary, like, I could ask questions and people got really excited because, you know, they're used to talking in their crowds with everyone who knows all this stuff, and they can talk all the technical and new stuff. And but when I'm asking questions that are more like quote unquote newbie questions, like, people got really excited to like answer me and make sure that I understood and to elaborate if I had further questions. And it was a great environment. And I want to like say Dave Bradley and Ben Perrin like put on an incredible event. And like, I felt so blessed to be able to go there and try and learn. I'm a person who, most of the stuff that I've learned about Bitcoin, I have learned online watching videos. But sometimes with me, the way that I learn is if I watch videos, I have to watch them repeatedly, like multiple times, until I can grasp something. And so if I'm at an event or I'm in person, I tend to grasp things differently because I don't know if it's just the way it is about the way I hear it. I had shared on one of my podcasts. For me, sometimes it's harder because when I'm processing what someone is saying, it's not that I'm not like hearing it and seeing it in my mind like everyone else. Like, it's almost like reading a book up in there. So uh, sometimes it's very hard for me. So I tend to, when it's like in person versus listening virtually or something, I tend to grasp better. And I also can write really fast notes. So at any event that I go to in person, or even all the stuff that I do online, I have extensive notebooks of notes. So I was like the nerdy kid at the Bitcoin rodeo, sitting in the front row, taking notes. I think I did like half of every single panel. I was like writing down all these notes and all these different things I kept, because I'm like, okay. And then I think one of the wonderful things about being at an event is if someone's talking about something, um, because that community was so good, I could walk up to them after and say, hey, you were talking about this. Can you explain it a little bit better? Or I grasped it really, really well. And I think for me at that event, one of my favorite speakers was Seb Bunny, because he really makes it understandable for the average person. And he also brings in like the human element into Bitcoin and doesn't just kind of give stats and all of that stuff. That's why I resonated with him. Like, when I listened to him, I actually had a hard time writing notes because I was so enthralled with just watching him, because it was processing in my head and I could fully understand what he was sharing. So it was a great opportunity. Now, at the one of my things that I struggled with this past year, and I understood it and I owned it, was uh my getting out of my comfort zone used to be going hiking and being by myself and putting myself in challenging situations. Now, that has kind of become my comfort zone of being by myself. And now this past year I started to notice that I got really anxious, and like, I would start to feel like I just didn't like being in crowds or around a lot of people. So this trip, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to get myself out of my comfort zone, because I'm now going to a place where I don't know anybody, and I want to immerse myself in different areas of being in like this. While I want to hike and do my different stuff, I also want to do events where there's a lot of people around where I have to, like, I'm kind of forced to interact, because I think that for me, it's a vital part of my growth to start to step out and talk to new people and meet people of different backgrounds and understand different things. And so that was important. And I, after the Sat Market, I went to a get together, and I, when I got there, I found the cat. And so, um, everyone else was hanging out and chatting and laughing. And I didn't know a single person aside from, like, knowing who people were from seeing them at, the event or online or whatever. And so I was getting like extreme anxiety. So the cat calmed me. So I was sitting and patting the cat, and then people started coming over talking to me. And I loved that. Like they're like, come over here, come talk to us. And that's when I started to be able to like ask questions, um, and people were so excited about that, and they were so wonderful. And then getting to know different people, and they were like, oh, tell us about you and tell us about this. And, and it was really great. And they were such a welcoming community. And that's one thing that I love about like the Bitcoin community in that area, is that I have not met a person who isn't welcoming or kind, or, isn't willing to answer questions and make sure you understand things. And so that was a beautiful event for me. And then, I had gone out to some other events, and, um, given myself anxiety, putting myself in big crowds. And then I did the drum circles in Calgary Park. And I think it's Julian who ran that. And that was a beautiful experience, and what a welcoming community that is. Anyone who goes to the Calgary area, I would 100% recommend going to that as well. They do those, I think, year round. In the summertime, they do them in the park. But that was a beautiful experience. And then getting to go up and talk to Julian after, like, what a welcoming, wonderful soul that man is. And I'm so grateful for that experience while I was there. So that was a really great experience for me to learn too. And something that I've been trying to really work on this year is, or the past couple years since I started learning about Bitcoin and things, I've had other people, talk about the importance of like precious metals with silver and gold coins and things like that too, is that I I can see the struggles more in the fiat world now. And it's something that even affects me. And, I shared with everyone, that I grew up poor and we didn't have a lot. And my parents always made sure that we had what we needed. We didn't always get what we wanted, but that's okay. They did the best that they could. And my parents worked very, very hard. And, during their time, it was always, just, save in your 401ks and do all that. And my parents did that, and they worked really, really hard. But when the stock crash of, I think it was 2008 happened, that affected my parents a lot, and they lost everything. They worked their whole life and lost everything. And that was how they had saved. And like even now, I have watched my dad with his, cancer and stuff, and he couldn't stop working because everything he worked for was gone. And so now there's still that need to work, even though it should be years that he doesn't have to. And that's because, you know, their time and their growing up, it was always, the stock market, your 401ks will be there for you later in life. And I learned from that, the importance of being prepared. And this is, I think years ago, I think it's got to be 3 or 4 when I started learning about Bitcoin. And I started to like slowly like buy little bits here and there and put stuff away. And then um while the fiat world can be a struggle, I while I struggle sometimes with that stuff, I do realize that I'm in a better position though for myself in the future because I also have taken the initiative to learn new things and to try and save little bits of different things here and there. And I don't want to just at this point be all in on one thing because I've seen the dangers of how that works. And I understand Bitcoin is a little bit different. And I do like that because I do think it's more like a sound investment, sound money for the future. If that is the way of digital currencies to go, that would be the route that I hope it goes in. So that is something I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to learn about and to try and change my life. You know, a lot of people are like, well, how come it's so difficult in like the fiat world? Like, I've had this conversation with a couple people and they're like, I know that there's inflation and, groceries are higher and stuff and maybe rents, but like what a lot of people don't realize is that in the New England area for utilities, there's not a lot of competition for for electric and all these different things. So you have companies that are price gouging, and I'll share with you an example of that. So for um, like my highest like electric bill years, like the past few years, used to be like 150 $200, and that's when you're running a lot of ACs and stuff, and you know you have a lot going on. So that would be like your high. Like the new norm is to get $400 to $500 electric bills a month. Now that's over 100% increase. Now, if you think about that with all your utilities and then all your basic expenses, it's extremely hard to go from, balancing out, let's say, $500 to $600 in utilities a month, and now it's 12 to 1500 because sometimes in the summer the electric bills are massive. So it's like, okay, I'm turning everything off and I'll be hot. I don't care. But in New England, it's a little bit different because the prices are astronomical. So that's where it's kind of been like, okay, like where for myself, I'm like, okay, so like you got to take from savings a little bit because it's going to be a little bit low this month, and I need to work harder, a few more hours so that I can balance out this. And so that's where it kind of becomes a challenge because you have everyone price gouging and taking advantage of all of this stuff. So I think that being smart in investing where you can, trying to get out of debt, um, I think that that's important. And I think also, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, don't invest in anything if you have debt and get that cleared up. And I don't necessarily agree on that either. Like if you can pay your bills and do your stuff too, but I also think that it's important to try and, if you have a little bit of extra, sure, you could take it and pay it on some bills. And, I've done that as well. But then there's times where I'm like, okay, well, I also want to think about my future and, you know, invest in myself towards that as well. So I balance that out, trying to do those different things. So I learned a lot this summer about finances and about saving and about, how I want to be in the future. And so I really enjoyed that. Uh, this summer, everyone knows that I love my pets and they are like my kids. Um, they mean the world to me. I do everything that I can to give my pets the most loving environment and home that they can be in. I make sure that they have everything that they need. And so one of my cats had passed away and it was extremely hard on me. Um, I never expected it and I've always been fortunate enough to have um, know when my animals are getting to that point and having that time to spend that extra time and say goodbye. And I didn't have that, and I felt like so guilty over it, and I was struggling with it a lot. And uh, a beautiful, wonderful woman reminded me that I gave them a wonderful home and that they gave me unconditional love, and that I spent my time knowing that I was doing everything that I could for them, and that they had a happy existence while they had it, and that it wasn't goodbye, and that, I could, because pets live such short lives, that I could have that opportunity again. And so I took that loss like it was, whew, it was tough. It was really tough, but I actually look at that differently. And I want to say like I took it harder than even like some human deaths that I've dealt with. And, but looking at that from a different perspective and having that conversation to help me kind of shift my focus and understand differently was really important for me. And it made that loss, I realized that I didn't lose anything because I gained so much from learning from that animal in my life. But it was still hard to physically say goodbye. And uh, I had been going through a lot of like struggles. So at that moment, in that time, so it made it even more challenging to, let that go. And then my biggest challenge has been letting go. And this is something that I've been challenged with now for the last couple years. And I I've been holding on so tight to so much in my life because I was in the midst of trying to change myself and change so much stuff. I was trying to hold on to some type of familiarity in my life. But in doing that, I've been hurting myself because there's times where in staying in situations that I'm not in integrity, the same things continue to come up in my daily life and the things that I'm a part of because the environment is toxic. And I think, like, for me, I don't think, I know that I've taken like all of these opportunities, and it's been in pretty much every aspect of my life, from my work environment to some of my personal relationships to the communities that most of the communities that I've been a part of. I've stayed in them and they're not healthy. And for me, I guess I kind of took that as a challenge to put on myself that I could prove that I could take it and I could handle it, and I could, I guess in a way, like I was being like really I think it's masochistic is the word or something. I don't know, but I realized, I kind of had like this. I just kind of had like a breakdown recently, and it was really hard for me. Like I really struggled, and I was trying to explain like in my body what was going on. And so like, and it was all at once, like that. I don't know if you've ever felt it. I'm sure everyone can understand when I explain the feelings that I had, but like it was like being stabbed in the stomach, and it was like twisting, like almost to the point that you want to like be sick. And then it was like this, like it literally felt like my heart was like cracking and breaking in my chest. Like it was pain. And then an elephant sitting on my chest so I couldn't breathe. And I I I broke down and I couldn't take it anymore, and I so much happened all at once, and I there wasn't really an escape. And so I I lost it, and I didn't know what to do. And I I own I own my mistakes. I have apologized for my mistakes. I know that I'm a person of integrity. I know that I put in the work. I know that I put in my heart into everything that I do. But I guess, like, for me, like in every aspect of my life, I was challenging myself to stay in like environments that just were toxic for my growth. And I understand now that I haven't been able to manifest things, and I haven't been able to kind of escape kind of that lack mentality in different areas of my life, or attract some of the things that I want in my life, because I've been holding on too tightly to these other areas and comfort. And you know, I I appreciate myself so much. I know, like, I know my worth, I know my value, and I, like, not like tooting my own horn or anything like that. Like, just I know that I'm a person of integrity. I know that my heart is like incredible. I would do anything for anyone, and I would be there for anyone. But I also realize that by not letting go and sticking in these environments, like, there was part of me, like, I can acknowledge it now, like, while I appreciate and have self-love for myself, and there's no doubt about that, sometimes I just wanted to feel appreciated. And that's very hard sometimes to explain at work in different areas too, because, you know, when you're have a job and you're expected to do something, um, you know, people want to know why you want to feel appreciated. But when you go above and beyond for what that job calls for, then sometimes you just want to know, hey, people appreciate that extra effort that you put in. And I started to see, like, for me, in all these different areas of my life, my personal life, my work life, the communities I was a part of, like, um I didn't feel like I was appreciated ever. And I felt like maybe if I just keep doing more, and I keep giving more, and I keep, just overextending myself for everything, that maybe people will appreciate me. And I guess in some respects, you know, that's was me looking for, like, external, but I I think we all want to be appreciated in this world. And when you don't feel that, it's really hard to continue to, like, showing up every day, and, like, putting your efforts into things. And when I kind of had a, like, a breakdown, I had talked to my mentor, and, and she put it into, uh, different words, but I will use these ones here. Um, that you can't heal in the environments that are hurting you. You can't heal in the environments that are toxic to you. And I didn't think of it that way. I felt it more as me trying to prove myself, to prove my worth. And I should not have done that, because I know my worth. and I know the kind of person that I am. And I think we all get to a point where we have enough and we want change. And for me, that happened a few years ago because the way that I was living my life was unsustainable. And so uh I guess I've kind of taken it as a challenge for myself to, if I can stay in environments that are hurting me, and if I can stay in environments that are not in integrity, that maybe I can change things. But I think the biggest thing that I learned is that I need to let go of that, because you can't change anyone who doesn't want to change. You can't change situations that don't want to change. And at the end of the day, like, we're all very programmed from the world that we're living in. And this matrix matrix world is very, very hard sometimes because, you know, everything is pretty toxic, and it's not about unity. It's not about peace, and it's not about love. And it's about vanity, and it's about possessions, and it's about money, and it's about all of these things that, you know, lead to keeping you out of balance and not getting in touch with yourself and not living from a place of faith and a place of love. Instead, we're living in a world that's full of ego, and everyone, you know, I don't find it to be sustainable. And I think in my own self work, like, I could see when I started doing a lot of my self work, like, I had to let go of a lot of preconceived notions, and I had to let go of a lot of um, things that I had been a part of, like a lot of these behaviors that I participated in. And it's when you do that work and you can see other people, like, they're going to be a mirror for you, and it's going to show you that's who you are, or that's who you were. That's the way that I look at it. And you can either step into it or step away from it. And it's a matter of integrity. And so I don't want to be in places that it's about over functioning yourself. It's about people pleasing. It's about time constraints. It's about, like, what you can get from people. It's about what you look like, not what you bring, like, not what your heart is, not what you want to change the world. And it's been a it's been a tough journey this summer to realize, like, I have to let go of everything. I have to step away from so much in my life, because I need to trust that what is coming next is going to be far greater than this. And um, I know that the reason things aren't working the way that they should is because I'm holding on to the way things were. And that's not good for me. That's not good for anything. And so I'm blocking my own blessings in this journey by trying to keep myself in all of the situations that are hurting me and not contributing to my healing. And I think it's so important. Like, I'm a part of this beautiful, beautiful online community. And um, I had the opportunity to meet quite a few of them. And what a blessing that was, because when you're surrounded by a community that's full of integrity, you can be yourself, you can express yourself, you can feel safe. And it's such an empowering place to be. And so for me, I have that one community that I can be myself in, and that truly, authentically, every single thing in that community is about self growth. It's about unity. It's about, living to your highest standard, not sacrificing who you are for anything or anyone. And for those who want to show up and put in that work and to take what you're learning and to integrate that. And I think that's what's really hard for me in this matrix world, is that I keep trying to fit myself into places where I'm trying to grow and learn and to expand and change and advance and to, you know, take myself further. But the problem is that the values of all of these places are about the things in the matrix. It's about all of these programmings. And that's what I've been able to see is like in my work situations, my family situations, and my community situations, all of the places where I'm struggling the most are the places that I've kind of found are enhancing like all of the things that I'm trying to step away from. And they are encouraging, you know, these type of things that are going to keep people stuck and blocked and living in this kind of fantasy world. And I don't want that. Like, I want to show up at work and I want to love what I'm doing. And I want to know that like the people that I'm working with, that they, that they're not just there because it's a paycheck. Like they want to be there because they want to contribute to something great and they want to change things. I want to, like in my relationships and friendships, like I want to have meaningful conversations and deep conversations and conversations that are going to help me grow. I want to meet more people that are expanding this beautiful world and this beautiful vision of like all of us like loving each other and creating peace. I want to be a part of communities that don't, like nobody wants part of toxic behavior. Nobody wants like, I just want to be a part of communities where I'm accepted and loved for who I am, where I am not judged, where my value is not determined on what I look like. Like that is what I want for my life. And for me, one of the things that one of the greatest lessons that I learned from someone on my journey was that when you stand in integrity, you have to know that you stand to lose every single thing. Because when you stand in your integrity, it means that you're willing to stand up and to speak up and to honor your values, your morals, to honor that something isn't right, that it is not for the greater good, that it is not contributing to, you know, like things that are going to harm other human beings. And I think for me, I finally learned this summer that true integrity means exactly that. Stand up, speak up. You will probably lose everything that means something to you in this world when you do so. But The trade-off is that you sit in silence, you suffer, you keep yourself in situations that are contributing to harm for yourself. You won't grow, you won't advance, you won't find the things that are meant for you. And that you'll sit in a comfort zone. And to me, I love human beings. I love people. But I'm going to have boundaries. I'm going to respect myself. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to honor myself. I am going to own and take responsibility for my actions. I have stepped out of line many times in my life, but the difference between the woman that I am now and the girl that I used to be was the girl used to play victim and blame everybody else. The woman in me now, I own it, I accept it, I take responsibility for it. I will apologize when I am wrong or when I've stepped out of balance or if I've projected things. I own it. It's mine. It's nobody else's. I don't want to contribute to a world that tears other people down or that is about stepping over people to get where you want to be in life, or that is part of any type of gossip or drama. I have worked my ass off to free myself from that. And I no longer will allow myself in any situation that is not for my highest good and that does not allow me to be my true, authentic self. And I learned this summer that that means letting go of pretty much everything and to accept and to know and to have faith that even though I'm going to walk away from everything that I love and everything that has, been my comfort, that I'm going to do great things. And I'm going to stand in integrity and I'm going to meet amazing people who want to contribute to that in the world and that are also on that path. And that everything is going to be about love and that everything is going to be about creating these beautiful communities of support and kindness and love and family and just creating the things that mean the most to me in my heart and sharing those with the world. And so it's been the most challenging summer of my adult life, but I also learned the most about myself this summer when it comes to challenges and when it comes to integrity and knowing the true cost of that to stay on this path. And I do want to say a special thank you to a couple of my friends and people who have really supported me and been so encouraging and loving and who have talked me through my breakdown and allowed me to try and understand what was not working for me and how I could fix it and keep it about me and what I need to do on my journey to overcome any obstacle that comes in my way. There is a few of you who have been a vital part of my growth, and I can't even begin to tell you like the love and respect and appreciation that I have for you. I have learned from some of the most incredible human beings that anyone could be blessed to cross paths with. And you guys know who you are. And I thank you. I love you. I respect you. I cherish you. I I feel honored to have you in my life and a part of my journey. And I'm honored that you let me be a part of your journey. And I wish everyone who listens to the show an amazing, month. I hope that you all do great things. I hope that you all follow your heart. Never sacrifice who you are. Always stand in integrity and know that the right path for you will always be shown to you as long as you keep your heart open and keep yourself moving on a path that is of integrity, that is of self love, that is of self respect, and that is one that will bring the most peace and love to this world. Thank you so much for listening. Have the best day.